So the idea is very similar with so that's for resin, and I used Cheetah Box for that. So I'm just going to close it. We're not going to use any of that. So the idea is for the filament printer, it's essentially the same, but it's instead of printing from bottom to the tip of it, it prints from the base. It prints right side up, and so it prints down and it prints going up. And so this one is bigger, as you can see. So this is now the filament printer, the Ender 3. So you'll open a file, and we'll go back into our files, and we'll go back to, that's the wrong one. Hairpin, files, Hair Dragon.
That's the STL.
Yeah, so we'll go all the way back to here because this program also does its own type of, kind of the process we just went through, creating the supports and all that. It does that same thing. You can see the big difference. That's the same size of print, but it's a much bigger print bed, so it's not overwhelming it.
Yeah.
So you have a lot more space to print. You needed to do the same type of things though. So you could leave it like that, and there's probably a reason that they printed it like that.
Maybe it's better for like the detail stuff.
Yeah, it might, or maybe
like,
it's just
weight.
fewer supports or something like that.
True, yeah.
Except it says your model is not manifold. The highlighted areas indicate either missing or extraneous surfaces. I'm not sure what that means.
Won't be supported. Too heavy.
We can. Well, that's okay. We're just going to go forward. So I could do the similar thing over here. I have my objects list, and I can choose which object I'm doing. Or I can just hit Control A, and it selects all of everything. This is for moving, and so I get similar thing. I can move it different directions, or I can just grab the arrow and move it where I want it. Also, I can do scaling, and so I could scale it down. That's what the size. Now you get a good view of like how they compare in size. So that's what fit on the resin printer. Or I can make it bigger, and so I could go like 300%.
Yeah.
Or 120%. And then this is also a rotate. So this has an option where I can just tell it to lay flat, or I can still grab these. Oh, it's thinking.
Oh, it's trying to lay flat.
So you still have the same or similar type of manipulability. There's a little bit more, I guess, settings. You can. It's probably in that other one too, but I don't typically do the advanced settings on that one. Some of the things that you can decide is, well, how do you want it hollow inside? And if so, how thick do you want the walls?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're just printing a circle, do you want the walls to be 0.2, or do you want them to like be 2, where it's like really thick or really thin? So there's some of that. Also,
laid it flat.
So that's how it thought it was laying it flat. So, or I can just do that.
Oh, and it automatically moves it down?
Yeah, it'll just, I guess so, yeah. So it.
I guess the red is where it needs supports.
And then, let's see, if I wanted to move it, say I wanted to move it.
So could you do the skull and the sword at the same time? Could you bring both of those in?
Hold on. Yes. Yeah, so if we did... I'm going to see if I could just center it, but... yeah, so you could do that. So you just go open file, and you choose the sword. And so there's the sword over there, and then you could just move it.
And then whenever it has the stripes, does that mean it's off the build plate?
I believe so, yeah. Where it's, well, let's see if it changes. No, that's, I actually don't know why it has the stripes.
It's still.
So, anyway, so you get in position, and then this one has some options of if it was a hollow object, how much support do you want inside of it? So if you were printing a ball, do you want it completely empty, or do you want what's called infill, some supporting inside? And then you can choose what percent of supports inside do you want. Do you want it 20%, 40%? Do you want it solid, so 100%? The bigger the number, more it prints, it's going to be more solid, but it's also going to take more filament, and it's going to be, it would cost more, I guess, to make it. So, and then you can choose whether to have it supported or not. So you can choose to turn off the supports and just print. Some people create their files where it doesn't need any support, and so you could have that option to turn it off. And so in this case, oh, and then up here is how thick do you want
the walls?
Yeah, how thick do you want the walls? So we're going to have the walls at 0.2, and then there's what's called the shell of the wall line thickness. Oh, this is saying that the walls are 0.8 millimeters thick each, and we're going to do 2 walls. So add 0.8 plus 0.8, so the walls are actually going to be 1.6 millimeters thick. And you have lots of customization, as you can see here. Usually all I've changed is the wall count and the temperature, or you can just do the simple here. And so, but the same thing, once you get it set up, then you hit slice, and there it's going to go back, and it's going to create all of those different layers. But in this case, it's just when it's squeezing the hot plastic filament, and it will drizzle it or print it onto those areas, and it'll go up layer by layer by layer. This one you don't, we did have the supports on, but you don't see those right now. But after it's done slicing, you can go to a preview, and now you can go and you can see kind of what we saw before of the slices. And so this is a little bit different type of support.
Oh, you can see like the difference between like the infill and wall.
Yeah,
supports.
so the orange here, where is preview? There's a legend somewhere there. So here you can see that the infill is this dark orange. The yellow is the actual print. The blue is
the supports.
It says
Helpers. It probably means supports.
Yeah, it actually is, because it's doing the support all the way
It does it all the way up to the
up, because you haven't printed the horns yet. And so you'd have to print all of this, and then that's where you start to print the horns. So the red is the outside or the shell, the yellow is the just in the next layer, and then the orange is the innard, the infill, the support on the inside. The blue is the support on the outside. Okay.
Didn't I do the...
Once it's all done, then you save to file. In this case, it does a different type of file. It's a C code, or I'm sorry, a .g code. And so you save that. And for the filament printer, you save it to a small SD card like that, which plugs right into the front of it. For the resin printer, it actually takes a USB, and so you can just put it on a USB drive, plug it in the side. And then on the printer, you just select, you have to have it on, obviously. You have to have it, the card or the USB drive in. And then on the printer, you go to the menu that says print, and you select which the file name you want to print, and then hit go, and it prints.